there's nothing, I couldn't see anything different on there. There is one item which is coming up later, which is the surface.
Do you want to do it? Should we deal with
Should we
that
do it
now?
now? Basically, you got the reply I had when I put in our application for a claim under warranty for the play surface. And they came back to me, Shawborn, and said, we've had a look at it, and we think it was caused by the excessive heat during the summer and the ground breaking away. Well, I've gone back to them and said, well, that's what warranty's all about, surely. And so they've offered us this sort of half cost of redoing it, about 500 quid's worth. But I still think we can go back to them and say, I'm sorry, that your warranty, I'm afraid, has failed actually, or, and we want to claim on it. I wouldn't put up with paying 500 quid, I certainly wouldn't.
Well, it cost us a month at the time, didn't it?
No, well, there is, like you will probably notice, because I take my grandchildren up there quite often, by the roundabout, it's actually that big now, and it's cut down to the concrete, so a child could actually literally trip over in it, and then, or anyone could.
It's going to get worse as well.
Yeah, there's a piece missing, like that sort of size.
Is it because it's cracked and fallen apart, or because a piece has been taken out?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, some cracks, some, like the surface has come away, so it's different.
Yeah, it's disintegrated really, and probably kids have mucked around with it, but something must have happened for them to be able to.
Is that the only place?
There's quite a few places.
Are there?
It's about 5 or 6 different places.
Are there?
Dennis, have you read the terms of the warranty just to see whether or not it's...
What?
we can't spell warranties.
No, Sarah, you're perfect for that.
Well, they might argue it's force majeure, they haven't got a leg stand on, but it's worth a shout.
Well, we'll write them a letter
I think
first of
you
all, so the parish councils don't accept.
I suggest that Sarah writes a letter.
I think once we get into more legalese type stuff, I think you're the person.
You have the words in there, right?
Fit for purpose.
Yeah.
I think also within their comments they made, it was almost as if they said there'd been, because of the heat, there'd been subsidence in the ground. Well, all of those went on concrete. They didn't go on the ground because it was there in the time
It
there
is,
before.
because you can see the concrete where it's come away.
I think it's a pretty fast one, I think.
Okay, all right, well,
Put you on half ones.
That'll do it.
yeah.
Over the hills.
Okay, that's a player report. Okay, so we're going to follow
Yeah, I'll
this
follow
guy
that.
with Sarah. Nothing from me. Clerk's report.
No, the only thing I wanted to say was, obviously, the November meeting, we're going to be discussing the budget for next year. And it's going to be quite important this time, because there are a number of things that we need to take into account. So, what you will get from me in about 2 weeks' time is a draft budget, which will indicate where I think we're going to end up, where I think our finances will be at the end of the year, and so on. So we can set the budget for 2023-24, and that sounds like a long way ahead, but it comes into force. We have to make a precept request really by December. So we need to have the first discussions in November, finalise in December, ready for submitting it in early January. So when I send you the budget, if you could have a look through it and see where there are things you like or things you don't like within the budget. I mean, at the end of the day, it is your budget. My job is to put it together. But if it requires upping in one place and downing in another place, that's your decision. Particularly with other things that we'll come on to later that might form part of that budget as well, it's going to be a particularly critical one, I would say. That's all I've got to say.
You have been warned. That's your 3-minute warning. Yeah. Okay. Police data. Have we haven't got anything?
I did send a report out yesterday. From the police.
Yes.
Only this afternoon replying to you, Owen, but the police report he sent through is useless. If you look at the data in there, there's almost nothing. And whereas normally there's the monthly comparison, there's a whole load of zeros in there which don't tally up with last month, so it might be worth just asking them if they've sent the right report, because obviously I normally produce that in the BKN as well, but I mean, it would be a waste of time, because it just looks
Right.
like, unless there's been no crime over the last month.
Not very good reading, is it?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll ask the new lady, Danielle McEwen, as our new PCSO, and I'll ask her if she could provide me with something a little bit more detailed without so many zeros on it.
She thought she was in Sanford.
On the speed wash and SID matters, one of our Evolis units seems to run out of battery pretty quickly.
Okay.
I have pointed it out to Stuart, but nothing seems to happen. I mean, I'm sure we can get some new batteries, not necessarily from Evolis, but can you have a chat? I have asked him.
Okay.
Please, and I'll let you know what happens to my application to the constabulary by the end of October, hopefully.
And you'll notice that all the the SID information is now on the website. I'm trying to update it every month, but of course now it's quite complicated now because there are several different locations where he's putting it, so you get a whole list of different measures. So I don't quite know how many people actually read that. I'd be interested to know actually, or whether we need to summarise it a bit more. I don't know.
It's a lengthy report. Have you had a look at them?
No.
If you go on the village website, under, is it under council matters?
It is.
Under council matters, then you'll see the speed reports, and it says Burton Row or.
Well, that's a new sign because he puts it in my garden. Yeah.
Correct.
That's
Yeah,
it,
the Evolis units.
That's
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah. So the reports are all there if you want to have a look at them.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Bob, your reports.
Yeah, just a couple of things from Candy, because we've still got a bit to get through. Finance update is that things are still looking fairly challenging, I think, with the right way of putting it at the moment. Where we've had the first 4 months of the council year have come to an end, and at the moment they're forecasting approximately a £25 million overspend by the end of the year. That's up from just under 20 million the previous month. So it's poor and getting worse. I mean, part of the issue is the whole national issue with inflation and costs rising, but at the same time also demands that are coming in, particularly adult and children's social services, are just ballooning. The information we're getting is that they believe that an element of that is knock on from COVID. That people have had a period of time where obviously things have got worse and haven't been picked up, and so now they're starting to come forward and we're seeing the issues. Plus also with children's services, the isolation of the lockdowns has had knock-on effect to those with already challenging positions. So that is something that is being looked at as to how that can be dealt with. In terms of the children that are looked after by the council, there are, I think it's now 600 or 700 that are under council being looked after. Some of those are housed outside of the county, and I've mentioned to you before that the county are trying to now buy properties within Somerset, which will then house maybe 2 or 3 children with supervision. So they're not going back to the old idea of the sort of children's homes, but having more sort of family-sized units, and that way it will help address some of the costs, because what's happened is because a lot of councils haven't got adequate accommodation, those companies that are supplying that accommodation are more or less able to charge whatever they like, and the cost for that is, if we get the kids back into the county, which would be better for them anyway, it could also save the county something like £6 to £8 million a year. So it's not an inconsiderable sum that can be addressed. Local government reorganisation is carrying on. We had the conference yesterday at Yeovil for the parishes to attend to get an update on local community networks, and I think Owen hopefully is going to get a briefing from a couple of clerks that went from this area. There is the local community network consultation that's out at the moment, and it is important that the parish sends back a response. They're looking at what these networks will do, and basically for those who aren't fully aware yet, It's a coming together of sort of parishes in an area. We historically have had a group here called the Coastal Cluster Group, which we've been part of, which covers people like Burnham, ourselves, East Brent, Lymsham, down to the Huntsbills. And it was a forum where you could go and sort of discuss issues that affected us all. And it also meant you could get people like the police and the health service to attend that meeting more often than you would to a local parish council. The idea of these local community networks is to be similar to that, but to also have some decision-making power as well, and potentially some budget. But where the boundaries are going to be and how they operate has yet to be decided. I think, Owen, you circulated it round to some members.
Yeah, so I circulated the website, which you would have found that on, presumably, and there was also a companion that went with it to help you, assist you to complete the questionnaire, the consultation.
So that completes about, I think it's the 17th of this month. So if members, if we don't, I mean, it'd be worth having a council response, but also it would be worth members responding themselves as well, because this, to be fair, it is up for grabs at the moment. This is a consultation which is open in the sense of nobody really knows what they're doing with it at the moment, so we can influence it. And it's well worth doing that, because this will be the main way that the parishes get to liaise with the new unitary. Couple of other headlines: innovation zones. The government announced the other day nationally. Gravity, which is the old ROF factory, looks like it's going to be one of those. So that would mean that any other businesses setting up in there would get preferential terms in terms of taxation for a period. Possibly it would affect business rates. It would also maybe make planning easier for them when they come forward for stuff. So that might give that a kickstart. There are plans afoot for a gigafactory to go on there, potentially 4,500 jobs. So it will be a major employer in this area and will have a knock-on effect. And the last thing I was going to mention was just it's flu jab time and COVID booster time, so the advice is get in touch as soon as you're eligible. There are quite a significant number of COVID cases around at the moment in this area, and they are also forecasting that because people have been relatively out of circulation for the last 2 years, if the flu comes this year, it's liable to be a bit of a dosing, so it won't be good. So get your jabs as soon as you can, but happy to take any questions.
Any questions before?
Well, which is the best way for us to submit a council
Online. It's the same way.
So I will need to get, obviously, views. I mean, I can complete it, but I need to know what your views are. So if you look at the consultation and you make notes of various parts of it, and let me know what your views are, I'll try and get a collated view of our council response. I think that's probably the best way of doing it, actually.
And one of the key things they're talking about is the boundaries at the moment, and they've given the 3 options, but they've made it plain that those aren't the only 3 options that are on the table. So the comment that's been made, for example, in our area, is that for some reason they've decided that whereas historically East Brent, Lymsham and Brent Knoll have always been together in a sort of grouping, they put Lymsham and Brent Knoll in with Burnham in one cluster, and they've hived off East Brent towards Axbridge and Cheddar, which may or may not be appropriate. So I mean, it's those sort of things they're asking parishes to comment on. And the other big thing about the boundaries is there are the 2 options are for 17 or 18 of these networks. The other one is for 10. If you end up with 10, there are something like approximately 300 parishes in the whole of Somerset. So if you imagine you've got 10 of these areas, your average number would be 30. But you've got Taunton, you've got Yeovil and you've got Bridgewater, which are big population centres. So when you take account of those, you're probably looking at the more rural areas like ours would be with maybe 30, 40 parishes. So if you're going to have a meeting with 40 representatives from the parishes, plus probably a dozen or more unitary councillors, plus the health service, plus the police, 1, you're going to need a big hall, and 2, you're probably going to get nothing done, because if you have a meeting of that size, you don't resolve stuff. So that's the sort of question that we need to be making comment on.
Or the noisiest take over. Any other questions we've got? So have a look at this, and it's very difficult because it would have been helpful if there'd have been a paragraph and then write your comment, but it's not. There's no form, so you just got to have a quick scan and just highlight the areas that say particularly interest you.
I've registered online, so I've actually got an account online to do that. I just need to know what you want to put.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much, Bob. Okay, finance.
Statutory, approved statutory payments. Sort of July. That should be September, actually. Have you got July anyway? You're July.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, statutory payments for September. These are the ones that were approved way back in April. These are the sort of usual payments. And then there's a couple of variable ones. There's the quarterly office expenditure for the period July to September 2022, £360.60. The BAT inspection survey for the toilet block, £310. These are not necessarily on your agenda, but we need to pay them actually. Nichols Facilities for their monthly invoice is £60. So we just need a resolution to approve those. Both, they can all be done in one lump there, actually.
What resolution A and B together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Together.
Can I propose that payments are, as outlined in items A and B, are paid, please? Seconder, Bob. All those in favour? Lovely. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question on that survey for the toilets?
Yes. We do everything here.
Yeah, but was that a requirement? I know for agricultural buildings you're meant to do it, but it was a requirement that
Our architect suggested.
your architect suggested it. Okay, I mean it's good practice, admittedly, but
Yeah. Yes.
okay, it's just they want another one of them because
Even the bus don't want to hang around in there.
They get quite expensive anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We do what we're told.
Yeah,
so,
no, okay.
The other thing I put on there, which is the local initiative, which Kim alluded to earlier on. In my own village in North Curry, we've had a situation where the church has decided to offer warm spaces to people during the winter season, particularly people who are struggling, and looked at a number of spaces in the village, including our sports pavilion and our two churches, and the council are supporting as well. So it occurred to me that it's something we ought to consider perhaps in Brent Knoll, and I did try and get hold of the church yesterday, because obviously I thought they may want to initiate it because it's a nice cosy warm thing for the church to get involved in, but actually I couldn't get hold of anybody in the church at all. I tried the vicar, the church wardens, and various other people, but no joy. So I decided that actually we're probably better to come back to the council and see whether the council want to initiate something. And there are several grants available. There's one through Kim's organisation, Community Council Somerset. There's a £50,000 grant available total for everybody. And we can get grants up to £1,000. And the idea is that that £1,000 would pay for this room to be heated for, say, 4 or 5 hours once a week, with volunteers manning it with refreshments. So you've got on the one hand you've got the grant, which is one thing, and that's fairly easy to obtain. And secondly, you've got the need for volunteers, which hopefully the church will be able to, participate in, along with any other organisations in the village. Things like meat group volunteers, WI, all those people might be able to provide some support.
Do you want to volunteer to apply for this?
I can. Yes, I need your resolution for me to actually apply on behalf of the council.
Can someone do it, or are you happy to do it?
I'm happy to do it. I've already done it once for North Curry, so it's very easy to do it again.
Right. Are you happy that Owen applies for a grant to do this, and then we can concern about volunteers after?
And then we can deal with the mechanics and the logistics of how it's going to work.
Lovely.
Can I just ask in terms terms of the space, is it community space that's being offered?
Yeah.
Or as
Well,
opposed to private space?
It can be, no, it's community space.
It's community
So,
space, okay.
I mean, this is obviously the obvious location because,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
it's right in the centre of the village.
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, probably more cost-effective to heat
Yeah.
than a drafty church, for example.
The shop can get their coffee machine going.
Okay.
Okay, have we dealt with variable payments?
We've done all that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Publicity item, oh yeah, we've done that.
Yes,
Okay, updated matters as well, that's ongoing, isn't it, the
it is.
restriction?
It is.
20 mile an hour by the school?
Could I just raise one other thing under finance?
Oh, sorry.
Did you want to do the tree quotes?
Yeah, there's two things actually, tree quotes
Ah,
and also E.ON, the electricity contract, which, if you remember right, last month I deferred because of all the different things that were going on. Well, that hasn't really changed actually. And fixed variable rate still seems to be the obvious one to stick with at the moment until somebody tells us there's a better rate on offer. So, and I can't tell you what that is at the moment because the business rates are different to the domestic rates. So it doesn't seem to, unless anybody's, I mean, Sarah, you're in business, I mean, have you got any more information about these business tariffs?
No.
Doesn't seem to be very,
No.
yeah, okay, so just stick where we are, I suppose.
Is that the one with the lowest standing?
charge.
Yeah, low standing
Charge.
charge. We have a slight
Because one was
complication.
a higher standing charge, wasn't it? A
That's
lower.
right, yeah. There is, this is the one with the lower standing charge and the higher unit rate. But the thing is, ours is complicated because we've got 3 meters. We've got a daytime, a weekend, and an evening. And what they do is they take an average of the 3 of them before they give you a final quote. And that is really quite complicated. If you look at them, it's very hard to work out which ones operate at which times. So, in the moment, I don't think there's much we can really do other than just leave it as a status quo and hope we get a half decent rate. The toilet block itself doesn't use much energy. It's the shop that unfortunately uses, and we asked them to contribute, which they have done very kindly. So, from our point of view, as a council, our costs are relatively low on the toilet block. So, yeah,
I think we decided to leave things as they were
I
for the
think
time being.
what was just.
Bob, do you-
I was pretty down somewhere.
Yeah, what it was, like,
Oh, it is.
yeah, a couple of meetings ago I was asked to go and get some quotes for doing the crown reduction on the apple tree at the front. So I went to 4 different tree surgeons. We've got 3 quotes that came back and I passed those on to Owen.
And we've had one from Dave Bateman. He's reducing apple tree 30%, £250, requires car park to be empty, to include removal and disposal of arisings. The second one from David Collins, DC Tree and Garden Services, to reduce apple tree by 30% all over, and that's at £400, and again clearing the waste. And Mark Fiddis, also same thing, £400 plus VAT, which is not a problem because we claim that back. So it's basically 250, 400 and 400 plus VAT. So 3 slightly different prices, but quite a big difference between the first and the other 2. So it's a question of...
Could we not do it?
Do you want to hang on a bit of rope?
Yeah, no,
they're not TPO deals, no.
Well, you look at that, what we did at the end, that we did ourselves, but that was considerable. We did that, didn't we? With no trouble.
But is this one a lot bigger?
No, it's a lot smaller.
Is it?
The one that was at the top of the road, we dropped a couple of fairly large boughs off.
Yeah.
We had to stop the traffic.
But
Well, Bob and I stopped the traffic and David cut it.
My only concern with us doing it is sort of health and safety, primarily. You know,
Is it something we could do, Dave? Or not?
Yeah, I would imagine we could, if we were sensible about it, and we made sure the car park was empty, and the hall wasn't being used or pick the right time,
And do we have the time?
when
the
do
other
when do
question.
you want it doing?
Well, it's this,
Tomorrow morning.
well, it's basically sometime between now and Christmas, isn't it, to get it.
Oh, yeah.
I was just thinking that if we could save a couple of £100, it's quite a lot, isn't it? If we could just, because we've done it before on working parties and done things. And
Well, if we could have, like, say, we could have two of us, well, 2 people on the ground then. If you drive Paul's tractor, because that would be insured, put me up because he's got the proper cage and health and safety stuff, so that would take out any liability there.
We've got the chainsaws.
Yeah, as long as people were on the ground to stop people coming in the car park and chucking rubbish in the trailer, I don't see it would be.
we've manned the site with high vis and
But that's for the council to decide. But I'm happy to do it, and I think we could do it with no health and safety thing, and it would be insured through us, and through me, or through Paul's
well, I've
Trust.
got public liability as well, so
Yeah, but you can't do it as a job.
no, but
Yes,
you wouldn't
No.
have to do it. I couldn't. No.
But you decide. What the council, the council
Well,
decide.
it's a very generous offer. I think the important thing is health and safety, and when is it going to be done? Because it does need to be done, doesn't it? Pronto. So what's your timescale when you think it should be done by, Bob?
I mean, I think we were, if it was being done by any of the other guys, it would have been, we're looking at November. Because the suggestion was, from all of them, you want the fruit off it,
Yeah.
first anyway, and then get in there and get it done before so it's all done before the winter. Happy to help with the working group. All I'll do is if I can just say for David to sort out some dates and tell the rest of us when you're available.
Yeah.
And then we'll fit with you.
You're going to help as well, aren't you, Adi?
Yeah.
Because Adi's going to be driving the tractor
Yeah,
for you.
well, he's done that with me before.
Mhm.
It worked.
Right,
well.
you're in charge of him then, Adi. Yeah.
Well,
You're
it's something to do.
the foreman. Yeah.
Well, November works well for me,
Yeah.
because it's a lot quieter on all the other things, so I'm
Brilliant.
busy myself.
Everybody happy
Is
with
everyone
that?
happy with that?
Let me do it ourselves.
All happy? Brilliant.
Thank you. Thanks, David.
Right,
Thanks,
that's
Amanda. Thanks, Adi. That's good.
Your work.
Yeah, cheers.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else, Bob?
You just joined there.
Okay.
Please.
Updated matters, I think they're ongoing, and the 20 mile an hour is ongoing.
Yeah, the first set of lights and stuff are up.
Yeah.
The ones down here haven't been done yet, and I don't think either of them have had their electrical connections put in yet. But
Thank you.
again, just a quick reminder, when the guys come to do our SID, he does need to make sure he takes the brackets off the post, because otherwise they'll disappear
Yeah.
at some point.
Which posts are they now going to?
The one just outside the parish hall, because that
Yeah.
repeat, because that's, I think that sign.
By John Rogers' house.
I think that sign's coming down, because that's the school sign at the moment, isn't it? And that won't be required once the other one's gone up.
Okay, I'll take it down. Okay. Correspondence.
Nothing that you haven't already received by email.
Okay, thank you.
You'll get spurts of stuff coming through chunks.
Matters of decision, we've dealt with car park, community shop. Bob, do you want to give an update on where we are with the community shop?
Only in so much as I think members are aware that we put in for the planning application, so that's working its way through the system and should be going public as soon as we'll get it registered. Hence the BAT bit earlier, because that had to be part of the submission, because it has to be up front with the planning application. In terms of, we had our meeting with the shop earlier in the week just to go through where things were in terms of the questions that we raised at the last meeting, and the shop have sent in a response addressing or seeking to address those those queries. So I think that was a useful step forward. We've got obviously the date booked for the 23rd of November, 26th of November,
26.
for the public consultation meeting, which is a view to get some feedback from the public in terms of what their view is in terms of funding of this, because we originally were looking at a project that was about 120 grand, and we were looking at borrowing about 80. We're now looking at a project that's ballpark 175,000 because of just the cost increases. And if we're going to go ahead with that, we will need to borrow more money. As a parish council, we have to get government approval to be able to borrow anything. So we've got approval to borrow 80. We will have to go back and ask for that to be increased. And we have to show the government that we have consulted with the parishioners who will end up having to pay for it, and that they support the project and are happy with that as an idea to go ahead with. So that's part of the reason for the consultation. I think on that consultation we will need to liaise with the shop to make sure we get a good turnout of people coming, and potentially, if we're going to use the Brent Knoll News, we'll need to put some information in there in the next fortnight, maybe liaising with the shop as to how that moves forward. But I think that sort of covers more or less where we are at the moment. It's an ongoing issue. There are still a number of hurdles to cross, and ultimately we as a parish council will have to make the final decision as to whether we press the button on this and go ahead and do that borrowing and move it ahead once we've got all that information in front of the council.
Either November or December meetings, I'm not sure which, one of those two meetings will have to be a final decision, because we're already committing, haven't we, to we've got 11,000 outstanding costs already that we've accrued. So we're starting to build up, quite a lot of money now, so the decision is probably going to be quite important now, I guess.
Yeah, from my own point of view, I think we have decided that Owen needs to construct some form of timetable that we are going to try to work to, because time isn't at large, for want of a better, time isn't endless. We need to work our way down the process. But I think what's come out of it is we need a lot of clarity to present you, which I've discussed with you in the past. And you need as much information, good information, accurate information, that we can possibly get from the shop, and that we can supply you as the shop working party, so that you can make that decision accurately. And we're going to seek to move towards making sure that we've got proper prices upon which we can work on, because it's clear we can't put a finger in the air and say we need to apply for this. We need to know exactly, and we need to maybe consider capitalising some of our existing expenditure rather than taking the hit for it in our precept. So there's some important decisions to make which could well increase our requirement for borrowing, but the pay period is such a long period of time, and when we address you with the figures, I think you'll see why we're able to do, or why we're able to do what we want to do, and why it is a benefit for both the parish council and indeed the shop. Because don't forget, as someone pointed out to us the other night, we will be getting a brand new toilet block out of it. Regardless of the shop, we will get a brand new toilet block. No cobwebs. Yes. That's one reason to vote for it, isn't it, Tracy? Yeah. Okay, so I think we've been as clear as we can at this moment in time, but we are working there, and we've got to wait for our architect, really. Bob?
There's just one other thing I need to just confuse matters further. Earlier on in the meeting, obviously, we talked about the dispensation. My advice from the legal team at Sedgemoor is the dispensation covers me for this meeting, for basically the full council meeting. It does not cover me for being part of the working party, so I am not able to remain on the working party as a councillor. Because the rules seem to be that if you go to a meeting and you are acting as a councillor and you have a DPI, then you have to get out and you can't be part of the meeting.
Okay.
The dispensation, as I say, covers me for full council meetings like this, so I can be part of the discussion and vote, but I'm no longer able to be part of the working party, unfortunately.
Okay, we want a new member of the working party. At the moment, the working party is Bob, Malene and myself and Owen. Bob's got to fall out. Can I have a volunteer to join that party? It's really exciting.
Sarah, you've got the legal.
Sarah.
I was just thinking about the legal side of things.
I second that.
Are you happy to do that?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, well, that would be great. Thank you. Okay.
It would be nice to have somebody who knows what we're talking about.
That's a bit, definitely below the belt.
That's me waffling on about legality.
That's most unlike you.
Quite how so come out.
I think we have a dispensation. No, that's lovely. Thank you. No, there's no. It's just a bit of fun. Okay, surgery attendance for our November meeting. Who's down for that?
Anybody who wants to come to it, basically.
Surgery, 10
Who
o'clock.
hasn't been to a surgery yet? He looks around. Hey, well, why don't you come?
Hey, you go and find
How
out
do you
what
come?
it's
What
about.
day's that?
It's
That's on the 1st.
November the 1st from 10 o'clock till 12
Yeah, I'm here.
here with Owen.
I'm here that day, yeah.
And hopefully we'll have some attendance, which is always nice.
Yeah.
We may not. Anyway.
AD. Right. Okay, thank you. Training for counsellors?
Yeah, there's a virtual training on the 12th of October, which, for actually, Sarah, not sure Jane, Tracy definitely, Melina and Amanda.
What's the code of conduct?
Code of conduct training. It's quite important actually.
Have you got time to register for that?
No, I'll try.
Too late.
Sure we can we?
Yeah.
I'm away, sorry.
That's right. Do you want?
What day's that?
That's on the 12th of October.
Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, I'm here, yeah, sorry.
So if I
It's
add you
online.
to it, it's online.
It's online.
Yeah. Zoom?
Well,
No, Teams. Teams. Yes.
Teams.
I need to check
Have you got the
that my
Teams
internet
app on your
goes in, because at the moment I've got no internet at home.
Teams is
No phone line at home.
Microsoft.
Oh,
Goodness
Have you
me.
got Zoom? Have you got Zoom?
Look up your right.
Where's that? I see Dave walking around with this.
Wednesday to 12.
Yes.
No routines, can you?
David,
If not one come out.
he'll sort the chat. Okay.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Flagpole. What we're going to do with that, David? We're going to take it
But were
down.
you going to publicise that we were going to take it down? That's why I didn't like to go on and just do it. I was thinking about next week, but is that too quick?
I have spoken to the person who gave us the
Yeah,
flagpole, and they're very happy with it
that's right.
to come down.
Yeah.
So, because I thought it was worth asking them actually, because they
Yeah.
donated it.
Put a note on next door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next door.
And
No,
you'll have to tell the shop,
Because
because they've got
when the Queen died,
their customers will be wanting to come in the car park.
Pallion Road
So-
is all perished and
Yeah.
frayed,
Right.
so that it's got to come down, and we're going to see, have a look at the pulley at the top and see,
Service it, yeah.
yeah.
Just to mess with it, I won't stop the meeting, but I'll just say you'll need to advise your customers or your shop people that the flagpole will be coming down because they've got to drop it into the car park. Okay. I'm not.
But we'll work out.
Can you
when's a
tell
good
Lucy
time.
when?
Yeah. So we could do it after hours.
Yeah.
Mm.
Which day are you not covered? Just a matter of interest, or times in particular.
Afternoons we're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so any day. Other than that,
So
That's right.
Monday,
Monday
Tuesday, and
afternoon,
Wednesday.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday
There
afternoon.
you are.
Yeah,
That
that's right.
says it. Okay.
Yeah.
That won't affect your
No.
running of the shop then. Okay. Thank you.
David and Amanda did a great job during the morning, under difficult circumstances during the morning, because they worked hard on that actually to get that
That was.
as well as they did actually.
Where are we with the new rope purchase?
Well, I haven't got it,
Well,
until you decide what you want. If you let me know what you need,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll order it.
rope diameter and things, because I
Yeah,
can't
Yeah.
remember.
yeah, because if the pulley's
Yeah.
on the blink, then we might need to,
Okay, Shore Bond we've dealt
We
with,
dealt with
the
Shore
local
we dealt
community
with,
networks we've dealt
we
with.
dealt with, and we dealt with notes and missionary contribution.
Okay, right, so
There is one
matters-
matter we did forget actually, and that is to advertise for people to come forward if they want grants, local grants. That needs to go in the BKN for November, so we can consider the grants in probably January. So if, with your permission, can I put that into the BKN?
All those happy with that? Thank you. Okay. Matters of report. Now, AD, matters of report are if you've got anything that you want to bring up at the next meeting, now's the time to tell us. Some people don't have anything and just say nothing, but if you want to bring up the question of the bench, which you talked about, then that would be matters of report to tell everybody for the next meeting. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Okay. Right. Amanda, anything?
Somebody mentioned to me the other day, is there any way that we could get the railway station reopened here?
Yeah,
Somebody asked me to bring it up, so.
By February, will that be right?
Pardon?
By February, will that be right?
What, in
They're in the
time?
railway anyway, they're all on strike. You'll be waiting a long time for a train down there. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Tracy, anything? Melina? Thank you. No. Jane?
Better transport, buses as well.
Buses?
Bus
And
transport,
trains.
okay.
And trains. Buses and trains.
And planes as well?
Everyone has the deals.
Runway, anywhere? David?
No,
Yeah,
Bob?
no, that was
Nothing
bad.
from me. Thank you all very much. See you next meeting. Oh yes, hang on a minute, hang on. We've got
An informal meeting, recording.